Manfredi knows it was you behind the car bombing.
And now he's coming for me.
Hard.
How do I get to him?
Just around the corner.
Episode 1. At the start of the story, Dwight and Fred give up their belongings before being placed in a holding cell, where a crazy man claims leadership. One inmate is in trouble for gambling away millions in government contracts. Dwight advises him to take control, then knocks out the loud guy to prove his point, saying, "Silence is golden." At the bar, Tina accepts her dad's situation, tells Mitch it's happened before, and leaves. Grace fears federal investigation over the 8 bikers they killed, but Tyson reassures her. The bodies are hidden in a mine. Goody declares himself the new leader while Dwight is in jail and gets the group working on new income sources. In court, the prosecutor calls Dwight a flight risk, but Dwight argues he has no passport. The judge sets $3 million bail. Tina offers her house to help. They leave court, ignoring the press. At the ATF office, Stacy hears Dwight made bail and grows anxious. The agency is watching him closely. In Brooklyn, Chicky asserts himself as boss and plans to silence those spreading rumors about his dad. Agents tail Dwight and Tyson, but Dwight spots them and escapes. Back at the bar, Armand complains about child support and Dwight's cut. Dwight returns and the group reunites. Mitch suggests Bigfoot for a job, and Dwight hires him. Dwight also mentions a man in jail who scammed $122.5 million and hints at future legal ventures. Dwight visits Margaret, who already knows about his arrest. She invites him to a fundraiser with a rich marijuana businessman and asks him to buy a table. As Dwight and Tyson leave, they notice ATF agents again. When they stop, the agents warn Dwight to stay away from Stacy, which confuses him. Stacy comes home to find Dwight waiting. She asks if he's there to kill her, but he reassures her and says he respects her, and she helped him rediscover himself. She apologizes, and he leaves, saying he will see her in court. As Dwight and Tyson drive off, they laugh about Tyson wanting him to hurt her, but agree to leave her alone. The next day, Tyson tells Dwight he wants to be a rapper and needs a name. Dwight jokingly suggests one. At the venue, Dwight refuses to smoke with Grace and talks to Fred about insurance problems. Dwight then shares a plan to use wind subsidies for their hydroponic weed farm, since the previous owner got arrested. At the fundraiser, Armand crashes into a car and embarrasses himself. Dwight pays off the valet. He warns the crew to behave, especially around Cal Thresher, a wealthy marijuana dealer. When Dwight meets Cal, Cal makes a threat, but Dwight stands firm and leaves the event early. At the bar, Goody answers a call from Jerry in New York, but Chicky takes over and warns Goody his reputation is at risk. Jerry is then shot. The next day, Dwight leaves court and is swarmed by reporters. He decides to find a new hotel. Meanwhile, Cal calls Bill Bevilacqua to ask about Dwight. Bill learns Dwight is operating in his territory and plans to investigate. Episode 2. At the saloon, Mitch sings while Dwight sits with his crew. A blackjack player loses money and stares at Dwight, possibly working for Bill. The next morning, Sirius raps outside Dwight's hotel as feds watch. Tyson distracts reporters so Dwight can escape. The feds follow them to a house Dwight is considering. Tina says $6,000 rent is cheap compared to New York. In Kansas City, Bill shows off his shooting skills. His man updates him about Dwight, and Bill is upset New York has not contacted him. Meanwhile, Cal Thrasher convinces U.S. Attorney Dylan McGrath to take Dwight's case personally. In Tulsa, Armand tells Tyson he's broke. Tyson tries to help. Dwight and Tina say goodbye. Margaret and Dwight share a light moment. In court, Dwight chooses to represent himself. The judge warns him of the risk. Dylan McGrath takes over the case. At a hotel, Tina gets a call. Her aunt is coming to help. In Brooklyn, Chicky calls Vince. Bill complains Chicky's men entered his turf and demands a cut. Chicky laughs and says he will think about it. That night, Dwight and Bod discuss jury selection. An AI suggests a divorced woman as ideal. The crew plans to rob a car dealership. Tyson suggests Armand steal parts for money. The next day, Donnie, the owner, finds catalytic converters stolen. Dwight visits the man from jail and offers $7.5 million for his wind turbines. The man agrees. At the bank, Dwight and Tyson apply for a loan. The bank offers $3 million, but Dwight refuses to provide full paperwork, so the banker declines. Later, Dwight's sister Joanne arrives at his hotel. She wants him to make a deal with the prosecution. Dwight refuses. Mitch brings Dwight a healthy breakfast, which he hates. Donnie storms in, furious about the theft. Dwight offers him protection, a guard dog, and help recovering parts, in exchange for a car for Tina. He also wants Armand to pay rent for his failed hit attempt. Dwight visits the U.S. attorney to negotiate, but is told no deal unless jail time is involved. Dwight realizes Cal is behind it, but gets no confirmation. Mitch later tells Donnie half the parts were found. Donnie's grateful and might sell his place. Mitch says he will ask a friend if they want to buy it. That night, Bodie shares he built an app called ChatCBD. Grace shows up with Celebrity Jelly Roll. Dwight does not know him but is impressed by his music. Later, reporters camp outside Dwight's hotel again, so he stays at Tyson's house overnight. Tyson's mom makes breakfast. Meanwhile, Chicky calls Goody. He says Bill is after them and suggests joining forces. Chicky offers Goody a way to survive and take over the Tulsa crew once Dwight is gone. Episode 3. Dwight practices his court speech with his crew, who say he's ready. At the bar, Mitch gets a call from Chicky about Bill coming to Tulsa. Mitch asks who's calling and Goody gets defensive, making Mitch suspicious. Armand's divorce worsens. His ex wants the house and full custody. At the saloon, Mitch suggests buying Donnie's dealership, and Dwight likes the idea. Cal visits Margaret, tries to dig into her relationship with Dwight, but she shuts him down and says Armand will deal with him. Dwight and Tina move into a new rental. Their rude neighbor fines Dwight $100 for leaving the garage open, then $150 for messy trash. Dwight stays calm. Later, Cal gives Armand $30,000, expecting a future favor. In court, the U.S. attorney calls witnesses. Dwight calls Stacy, who admits she pursued him, protected him, and that he only gave her a gift. The prosecutor does not cross-examine. After closing arguments, the jury deliberates. Outside, Dwight tells Stacy he enjoyed their time together and wishes her well in her new job. Then, Dwight meets Bill at the saloon. Bill wants a share of Tulsa, but Dwight refuses and says he does not answer to Chicky. Bill says Cal will return with a proposal. The jury finds Dwight not guilty. The crew celebrates. Dwight tells the U.S. attorney to send regards to Thresher and praises the justice system. Thresher hears the news and is upset. At the bar, Goody learns Bill's man is returning with an offer, but Chicky wants Dwight killed. He tells Goody to lure Dwight outside. Meanwhile, Dwight's snobby neighbor finds out Dwight is a mobster and apologizes for bothering him. That night, Dwight's crew celebrates at the bar. Margaret asks Dwight to dance. Goody tells Dwight Bill's man is outside. As Dwight steps out, the man pulls a gun, but Bigfoot tackles him, and Goody stabs him to death. Tyson offers to handle the body. Inside, Margaret notices blood on Dwight and wipes it off. They dance. The next day, Bill finds his man dead at his gate. Dwight's message is clear. Episode 4. Bigfoot drops Tyson at home and tells Dwight he handled things well. Joanna, Dwight's sister, is worried about the danger they are in, especially after Dwight killed one of Bill Bavacqua's men. Dwight reassures her, but she warns that Bill won't back down. Tyson spends time fixing a van with his dad, who refuses Tyson's offer to buy a new car. Dwight teaches his grandkids how to throw a punch, but Tina reminds him their school is non-violent. Dwight tells them never to snitch and gives streetwise advice. Later, Dwight admits to Tyson he could have handled Bill better, maybe made a deal. At even higher plane, Bodie is upset about being dragged into murder-related issues, but Tyson rallies the crew, saying Tulsa belongs to them, not Bill. No one leaves, including Bodie. Meanwhile, Cal Thresher gives Armand more cash and asks where Dwight gets his weed. Armand mentions a wind farm, which alarms him. Dwight's crew meets with a Native American family to strike a wind energy deal. They agree on 20% energy for the tribe, but reject Anu's demand for 20% weed profits. After learning Cal also made an offer, Dwight's crew manages to close the deal. In Kansas City, Bill Bevilacqua is furious that Goody did not betray Dwight and Vince to Chicky. Vince mocks Chicky, who drunkenly implies he killed his father. Vince is disgusted and later plots with Bill to take out Dwight themselves. Elsewhere, Cal warns Jackie to stop growing poppies and demands 50% of heroin profits. Jackie, angry, executes 2 Chinese workers for stealing, sending a brutal message. Goody, paranoid, pulls a gun on a harmless man. Later, Mitch and Dwight agree to buy Donnie Shore's dealership to use his GM license for cheaper inventory. Donnie will help train Mitch during the transition. The episode ends with Dwight telling Mitch he regrets choosing the gangster life. Mitch calls him a searcher, always chasing something, even after reaching success. Episode 5. Dwight takes his grandkids to school, where he disapproves of the school's soft approach and lack of competition. But Tina likes it. At Even Higher Plane, Bodie reminds his crew to stay alert, mentions Dwight's sister might visit, and agrees to let Grace work in the greenhouse. Dwight criticizes the school's no-score policy in sports, but Joanne tells him times have changed. At Donnie's shop, they wait for GM approval while Donnie teaches Mitch about sales psychology and image. In New York, Vince and the Zip suspect Chicky killed his father. They convince Chicky to agree to a meeting with Bill and Dwight. Meanwhile, Dwight tells Tyson a story about a deadly feud to explain why patience is vital. Vince sets up the 3-way meeting, and Chicky confirms the time. Dwight's crew discusses marketing for the car dealership and expansion at the stables. Dwight visits Armand for their cut, while Tyson and Armand argue. Dwight invites Margaret to dinner, and she warns him about Cal Thresher and his ties to Jackie. At the bar, Goody gets a call from Vince, who reminds him of the code, never reject a sit-down. Goody agrees to talk to Dwight. Later, Cal sees Dwight and Tyson at Armand's, and Dwight warns him to back off. Goody tells Dwight about the Atlanta meeting request. Cal, meanwhile, takes men to sabotage Dwight's wind turbines. Bodie is attacked, and Dwight's crew arrives to fight off the attackers. The last man confesses Cal sent them. This means war. Cal calls Bill to compare notes, but Bill shuts him down, having sold Cal's business to a Chinese partner. That night, Dwight and Margaret dine out. Cal sends wine to their table, so Dwight orders 3 expensive bottles, 2 for them, 1 for a random guest, sending his own message back. Episode 6, Dwight tells Tina and Joanne he's heading to Atlanta for a meeting with Bill. Tina already knows and asks for a gun. Dwight agrees and has Mitch train her at a shooting range. She learns fast and impresses him. At Even Higher Plane, Armand sees a bruised Bodie, who reveals Cal Thresher was behind the attack. Armand confronts Cal, who threatens him and his family if he stops cooperating. Cal is also pressured by Jackie to eliminate Dwight after their guards were beaten. In New York, Chicky is arrested at the airport for carrying a gun, so Vince goes to Atlanta alone. At a soul food restaurant, Dwight, Goody, Bill, and his man meet without Chicky. Bill claims Tulsa belongs to Kansas City. Dwight says New York owes him. Vince suggests Bill join the weed business. Dwight offers Bill 15% for security and distribution. Bill agrees, but when Vince asks what New York gets, Dwight and Bill walk away, ignoring him. Back in New York, Chicky explodes at Vince for making the deal without him. Vince blames Chicky's arrest, and the two nearly fight. Bill regrets the deal, feeling tricked. After the earlier attack, Dwight's crew stays alert. Tyson notices a car tailing him, and when Mark's car won't start, Dwight lends his own. Tyson drives Mark to work, and later asks Dwight to sell the car to gift his father. Dwight agrees, and Mark is touched. The next morning, tragedy strikes. Mark's car explodes in front of Tyson as a mysterious car speeds away. Tyson is left in shock. Episode 7. At the hospital, the doctor says Mark survived the explosion but needs surgery. Tyson vows revenge, but his mother slaps him and tells him to rethink his life. Authorities believe the bomb was meant for Dwight. Outside, Dwight warns Tyson to wait before acting. The FBI questions Dwight, but he tells them nothing. At Donnie's, Tyson gets a car. At the bar, Dwight, Mitch, and Goody suspect Cal, Bill, or New York. Dwight calls Chicky and Vince. Both deny involvement. Chicky and Vince argue afterward. Bodie offers Uber fare for safety. Dwight and Bigfoot find security footage showing a white Prius involved. Dwight pays his old instructor Paul $10,000 to trace the plate. Chicky asks Bill if he planted the bomb. Bill denies it and accuses Chicky. Dwight confronts Armand, who admits Cal's involvement with the turbines. In New York, Vince meets with OGs, suggesting Chicky be removed from power. They agree to speak to higher-ups. Dwight confronts Cal, who denies involvement. Jackie secretly made the call and contacts Hanan. Tyson wants revenge, blaming Bill. Bill, however, decides not to act yet. At dinner with Margaret, Dwight learns the Prius belongs to AGV Imports. Margaret admits she's excited by Dwight's life. Tyson visits his comatose father, says he cannot turn back, and promises justice. Jackie confesses to Cal that he planted the bomb and kills the only witness. Mark wakes up and calls Tyson, who is outside Bill's house with a gun. Bill's men shoot at him, and Tyson fires back before fleeing. Dwight hears it all over the phone. Episode 8. Dwight warns Tyson about the Mafia's consequences, but reassures him he's family. Dwight asks Bigfoot to investigate a white Prius registered to AGV Imports. Bill plans to take down Tulsa after Vince is hospitalized, and Chicky checks in. The FBI listens in on Bill's wiretap. Armand tells Clara about spying on Dwight and considering witness protection, but she refuses. Dwight tells Tina to leave with the kids to New York. Tina warns Dwight about the family falling apart. At the hospital, Tyson lies to his father, and his mother cannot look at him. Bigfoot finds AGV Imports is just an empty lot, and Armand fights with Spencer. Margaret fires Armand for blaming Dwight for his life's problems. Tina leaves, and Dwight prepares for conflict with Bill's crew. Mitch and Tyson pick up a car for the lot. Chicky's crew discusses Bill's plans. Vince suggests eliminating Chicky. Feds warn Dwight of Bill's plans, and Cal and Jackie discuss Dwight. Armand begs Cal for help, but Cal dismisses him. Dwight calls Chicky, threatening his crew if anything happens to Tina. Bodie and Jimmy prepare for the fight. Armand regrets his choices and drinks more. Mitch and Tyson load weapons, and Bill's men watch Dwight's house but are forced to leave by a neighbor. Jackie forces Cal to sign over his business for $1,000. Vince orders Chicky sidelined, calling him reckless. Chicky angrily storms off. In Tulsa, Jimmy is shot by Bill's men, and Bodie calls Dwight to respond. Bill's men inform Dwight about Jimmy's death. Cal asks Bill for help, revealing Jackie's involvement in the bombing, which enrages Bill. Armand, desperate, holds up Goody for cash. Goody warns him Dwight will find him, but Armand takes the money and leaves. Episode 9. We see Jimmy's funeral, where the Indian clan honors him and gives Dwight a traditional axe as a sign of support and a promise for revenge. Dwight assures them justice will be served. Bodie asks when they'll kill Bill, but Dwight calmly says the right time will come. Meanwhile, Armand, carrying stolen cash, reaches the border but turns around, choosing not to flee. Goody warns Dwight that Armand has stolen $500,000 and could go to the FBI. Vince calls Chicky, asking him to bring Dwight back into their group, but Chicky is uncertain. Bill plans a truce with Dwight, claiming the conflict is a misunderstanding, and discusses getting rid of Cal, but agrees to wait. Tyson calls Dwight, saying he has not found Armand yet. Dwight talks to Joanne, suggesting she go to New York for safety, but their conversation is interrupted when Bigfoot arrives with news. Cal meets with Bill, expressing frustration over losing everything. Cal proposes ending the conflict and taking down Dwight. The next day, Cal asks Margaret to convince Dwight that Jackie, not Bill, was behind the car bombing. Later, Tyson visits his father, who's recovering at home. When Tyson's mother arrives, there is tension between her and Tyson. However, Tyson's father insists that family is the most important thing and urges them to fix their relationship. After an emotional moment, Tyson and his mother hug and reconcile. Dwight, Goody, and Bigfoot meet to plan, but Margaret asks to speak with Dwight privately. She tells him that Cal owns 49% of the ranch and that Jackie was responsible for the car bombing. Dwight refuses to meet with Bill or Cal, saying he's done talking. Back in New York, Chicky tries to book a flight but finds he's on the no-fly list due to his recent arrest. He's frustrated and stuck. Dwight reluctantly agrees to meet Bill and Cal but says he's only there to listen. As the meeting gets heated, Cal steps in and says Jackie is the real enemy. Cal explains that Jackie has been forcing everyone out, including him. Dwight, still unsure, promises to think it over and leaves. Meanwhile, Armand meets with Jackie, who accuses Dwight of wanting him dead. Armand warns Jackie that everyone knows Jackie was behind the car bombing. Jackie, getting angry, suggests they ambush Dwight at the ranch when no one else is around. That night, Jackie and his crew arrive at the ranch, guided by Armand, but the Indians, part of the plan, attack. Most of Jackie's crew is killed, and Jackie is shot in the leg. Mitch and Bigfoot drag him into the barn. The Indians offer to handle the bodies. Dwight sends Bill away, and in the barn, Jackie is tied up over a grave. Dwight gives Tyson the Indian axe to kill Jackie. Tyson hesitates, but ultimately delivers the final blow. Armand reveals he tipped off Dwight, and together they planned Jackie's demise. With Jackie dead, Dwight says everything is settled. Bigfoot buries Jackie while Chicky, traveling by bus, plans to confront Dwight. Episode 10. The final episode begins with Cal thanking Dwight for saving his business and asking for a reward. Dwight warns him to accept the deal or end up like Jackie. Cal wants to handle things like a businessman, but Dwight takes all of Cal's business and forces him to agree to the deal. Cal admits he's tired of the business. Tyson congratulates Dwight on his new farm, and back at the ranch, Margaret hides a bullet she finds on the floor. At Donnie's dealership, Mitch signs the papers, becoming the official owner. Vince calls Dwight, saying New York is under new management, and Chicky is out. Vince wants Chicky to convince Dwight to return to New York, but is prepared to move on without him. Bill visits Dwight at the bar, asking for a 50% deal, but Dwight offers only 25%, leading to an argument. Chicky later storms in, threatening the crew and proposing they take out Vince and run New York together. Dwight refuses, accusing Chicky of killing his father and ordering him to leave. Chicky insists he won't go without Dwight. At the ranch, Armand apologizes to Margaret for his past behavior, and she forgives him. Chicky meets with Bill, blaming Dwight for their problems and proposing they get rid of him. Chicky wants help from Bill to take control of Tulsa and expand into Nebraska, Iowa, and Arkansas, offering a 50% share for everyone. At the saloon, Anu agrees to take over Mitch's role. Later, Chicky and Bill meet Dwight and present their proposal. Dwight gives a speech about the crew's success in running legitimate businesses, but the FBI quietly requests access to his files at 3 a.m. While Dwight and Margaret sleep, armed men break in, cover Dwight's head with a hood, and take him to a dimly lit room. A voice coldly tells him, "You work for us now," and the story ends. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel for more great content.